Hello and welcome to this Textinator tutorial. In the previous video we have learned how to create our first annotation project in Textinator. However, we have inputted our data source for that project manually by simply typing in a couple of sentences. This is of course highly impractical because the real world datasets are much larger and it would take so much more time to actually input them by hand. In this video you will learn how to deal with your own custom datasets and import them to Textinator. So here we are and our lovely question answering project that we have created by the end of the previous video. And in order to explore again which datasets are used for this project, we'll go to Profile Admin and go to the Data tab over here. And here we can see that there is only one data source that's capturing the project. It's called test, and we know that the language of this data source is English. Now you can't see the specification of this data source from this form. So in order to see that, you need to go to the menu to the left and click on the data sources, and then from this list select the data source of interest. In this case we have only one because we created only one so far. And let's click on that, and then here we are, and we see our specification and our lovely two sentences that we have actually manually typed during the last video. So the field of this form that we'll be focusing mostly in this video is called dataset type. So let's start by actually creating a new data source so that we are not jeopardizing this one. Just by going to data sources and clicking on add data source, and here we are in our lovely form. And let's name the data source test2. And now let's have a look at this dataset type field. It's a drop down, so if we click on that, there are four options that we have. The first one looks very familiar because we have used that already, and it's just plain text. So you can actually again just write your plain text, and I'm just writing some random characters here. And if you want more items here, you just click on item here and write another plain text sentence. This is of course again mostly used for testing when you need to quickly check that your setup actually works, and maybe, I don't know, run some pilot studies maybe with your annotators. Now a more scalable option here is to actually use plain text files, and this option is actually a rudimentary option that is here for backward compatibility with previous versions of Textinator. And what this allows you is to put your text files, plain text files that just contain only text, into a specific folder in the Textinator, in the main Textinator folder called data. And if you put them in this folder, you can then specify them within this file field by actually inputting a path relative to this folder. So let's say I have a file called a.txt and another file called b.txt, which are now lying in this Textinator data folder. Then I would need just to input their file names here, and those would be actually catered to the contents of those would be actually catered to this project that we will choose the dataset to be in. Alternatively, if you have a folder that has a bunch of text files, let's say 100 text files, and this folder is also within Textinator data, and this folder is called, let's say, test folder with an underscore, then all you need to do is just to enter the name of this folder over here. And all of the files from that folder, the text from all of the files from that folder, will be used as the actual sources for annotation. Now, in the very same way, you can use JSON files as your source of text. And they should also go to the very same Textinator data folder. And you can also specify either individual files or the whole folders containing JSON files. But in this case, there is also a separate argument, which is the name of the JSON key, which actually contains the text. Because, you know, JSON format can contain arbitrary data. And so you need to have a specific key dedicated to your text, which in this case can be just text. So you just need to actually specify what key I should look for in each JSON object to actually find the text. And then the last object is actually the one that we recommend using. It's called Texts API. The downside of this type of the data sources is that it requires you to actually set up your own server that serves your texts, which requires some programming skills, of course. But then what you need to specify here is actually the endpoint to the server that serves your data, and it can be just myserver.com/data, for example. And then this server needs to adhere to the text API that is defined by Textinator. Is actually defined in the official documentation, which you can access at textinator.readerdocs.io. And here is how it looks like. And you can go to the tutorial part 2, adding a new data source, and then what server is compatible with Text API. And you see that this API just needs 4 GET requests to be defined. The first one is for getting a data point with an assigned key. The second one is for getting a random data point, where you get back the key and the text corresponding to that key. The third one is the size handler, which gives you the size of your dataset. And the other one is get source name. This, for example, if you are serving from the database or you're serving from the text file, that would be, for example, a name of the file, or that would be the name of the table that you're serving your data from, or any other identifier or source name that you are preferring, actually. And we have even provided the example Flask server in our GitHub repository, which we're not going to go through right now, but you can actually go ahead and check them yourselves. And so these are the 4 options that are actually available for importing your own data in Textinator. Now, in fact, if none of these actually suits you, there is another option which is somewhat hidden and discouraged currently, but I can show you how you actually can use the user interface to actually upload your data. So in order to use that, you need to ask your system administrator to add you to a group called File Managers. And again, we go to Settings and User Details pane, and we see that right now we just have the group called Project Managers over here. And so again, ask your system administrator to add you to the group. And then after that has been done, you will hopefully be able to update the page and actually see that you have a new group called File Managers. And now after you have that, you need to go to Profile Admin, and you will see there is a new menu item here on the left called File Browser. Click on that. Now here we will have all different kinds of files, of media files, like videos or thumbnails or basically any other media files that the users will choose to upload. I want to stress that these are public and can be seen by everyone, which is why we discourage the use of this option for actually uploading the data. But you can upload the data if you really choose to do so. And we have a much more discussion about that on our documentation site, so I'll just refer you to that if you're interested in more details. And so in order to do that, what you need to do is to create a new folder and name it exactly the same as your username is. So in this case, just test_stuff. And then it will be created. And then inside this folder, you need to upload your textual data. And so just to demonstrate, we will upload the file here. For example, let us upload a document from the Wikipedia, which is a regular text file. And now you will see there is a check mark here. That means that you have successfully uploaded the file. You can click Return to Uploads. And you will see that now in your folder, there is one text file that you can actually use. And now you can just copy the name of this file and then go to Data Sources and let us create this test2 data source. And now we know that this is a text file that is lying within our folder, and we can just select plain text files here and then click on Files here and just add the name of this file. And this actually will be served now from our as our textual source to be annotated. And so in this case, the language of the data is actually Swedish, and the formatting is just a plain text. And so we'll just create this new dataset. And now we will very quickly create a new project, because remember our previous project had actually English as the language. So not to jeopardize that, we can create a new project very quickly called Test Project 2 and set the language of this project to Swedish, and the description will be just, this is a short description. And as we know, the publishing date will make it again 12th of January midnight, and the expiration date the 1st of January, again midnight. Task specification we will do again question answering, and then the data source will now be our test2 data source for Swedish. And so we can click on Save and continue editing. And now here is a trick for you. If you want to look at your project directly from this side, you can just click on this view on site button, and this will bring you to this project. Again, this is the first time we're joining the project, so just click join here. And here we are. We see this is the text that we get from our text file, which means that our actual import via the user interface was indeed successful, which is great. So again, to discuss the limitations of this once more, this will be seen by everyone in this platform. Furthermore, when you're adding the data source this way, you will be again limited to only plain text files or JSON files. Everything else is supported via Text API only currently. Now this might change, and this option might also in the future versions be not available, so I would not recommend using that. But currently it is there, and I wanted you to know that just in case you don't feel comfortable with creating your own APIs. And so with that, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.